It's probably the biggest decision being made by Idaho lawmakers in recent memory. The Education Savings Account bill will impact a lot of people, and it will cost the state, well, actually you, the taxpayer, a lot of money. How much exactly? That is very much debatable. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But this whole ESA bill has a lot of people scratching their heads across the state, in the State House, and in our very own newsroom. Who's going to pay for what? Who's already paying for what? Who will get money? Who will lose money? And who will spend the most money? So we thought we could try and simplify it as much as we can so even a fifth grader could understand. According to Senate Bill 1038, the Education Savings Account bill, the state of Idaho pays, on average, $7,437.50 per public school student. That money goes to the student's school district. As it stands now, the state pays nothing for private or homeschool students. However, if a private or homeschool student signs up for the ESA program, they now become part of the state's ledger at an equal value of $7,437.50. 80% of which, or $5,950, would be put into a savings account to be used to pay for their private or homeschool education. Money they weren't getting before. And their local school district would get the remaining 20%, or $1,487.50. Money they weren't getting before either. So while that school district will now get a bump of nearly $1,500, the state of Idaho will be on the hook for another $7,400 it wasn't paying before. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And the school, there's another layer to this, because should that public school student, that was just talking about private and homeschool students who sign up for it, but if a public school student decides they're going to sign up for this ESA program and go to private school, or do homeschool for that matter, they're still going to cost the state $7,400, or more than $7,400, but they're going to leave the district with $5,950 less than they had before. Those are the numbers we know about, but there are other numbers out there, much bigger numbers that have a lot of people pointing fingers and questioning some equations. This week, the Idaho Center for Fiscal Policy released their take on the Education Savings Account bill. We talked about it yesterday. They're an independent, nonprofit, nonpartisan organization whose mission is to provide accurate financial analysis to inform public decisions. Yesterday, we learned they believe the program is going to balloon beyond its first-year costs, from $45 million to more than $360 million. And they're basing this on on 75% of private school students enrolling, 95% of homeschool students enrolling, and 12% of public school students enrolling, for a total of more than 60,000 students in the ESA program by year 2 and beyond. Well, a group that has a problem with those numbers, that may say they're a little bit inflated, maybe not accurate, is one we've also spoken with before. The Mountain States Policy Center says they aren't sure where the Fiscal Policy Center got its numbers, but they are sure they're a bit off. Overestimated, they say, and they're not going to happen.
Well, I mean, no one can predict the future, obviously, so I can't say with certainty that they're not going to happen. But what I can tell you, Brian, is that they haven't happened in other states, and that when you look at some of the data that's in this report, a 75 to 95% participation rate among private school and homeschoolers, we have not seen that play out in any other state. This group is estimating 60,000 students would take advantage of the program in Idaho. Not even 60,000 have taken advantage of the program in Arizona, and Arizona is a state that's much larger than Idaho. So it's difficult to understand where they get some of these numbers from. If the numbers turn out to be correct, that would make Idaho's program the most successful and a history-breaking program. I think the number that we should be looking at, probably the closest, is the private school and the homeschooling numbers. And again, the 95% data point is what stuck out to me in terms of the homeschoolers. I quite frankly have not talked to very many homeschoolers who are all that excited about this, and I just cannot see a scenario play out where 95% of homeschoolers sign up.
But that's only because they're worried about government programs, oversight, and accountability. But this bill has not any of that.
Well, I would disagree that it doesn't have any of it. I think it does have some. To us, the greatest accountability is put with that of the parents.
Chris also points to the audit portion of the bill as at least some sort of oversight on how that money is spent. It just has to be spent on a student's education, tools for education, or even extracurricular activities, even transportation. You can pay for it with this money. What is being taught or who is teaching it? Well, there's no oversight in that. It's worth mentioning Chris is correct in saying Arizona doesn't even have 60,000 students signed up for their ESA program. But it's also worth pointing out this is also the first year it became universal in Arizona, just like Idaho's would be. There's no denying this program is going to cost the state money. Even the Mountain States Policy Center admits that. More money than what the state usually spends on education. For the mere fact, with homeschool and private school students signing up, the state will now have to pay more for them. But to what extent? Chris believes it will be a lot more than $45 million, just a lot less than $360 million.